Right. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the first Lorega webinar we've had in quite some time. Angus, Jess and I are delighted as ever for you to join us on today's session, which is going to be on a topical subject, winter claims and severe weather. I mean, the timing of this webinar couldn't be much better, could it, in view of the awful experience we have had in parts of the country over the last week or so. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. As people enter, you're going to be muted on entry. And if you've got any pressing questions of the Q&A section, at the very end of the webinar, we'll do open it up at the forum for a question and answer session. And Jess will coordinate those questions as we go through. So I suppose I better formally introduce ourselves. I'm Anne Jackson, the broker relationship director at Lorega, and have worked for the company for quite a long time, as has Angus Tucker, who is head of Lorega Solutions and sitting there. I think you can see him. Angus is a qualified adjuster of many years and heads up our own loss adjusting company, and also is an ex-president of the Chartered Institute of Loss Adjusters. And Jessica is also is our marketing manager, and as I say, she'll be coordinating the chat. So and any technical issues, head them over straight away to Jess. All right, so let's get started. Let me just get started there. So working with Lorega, what we want to do is just tell you about what Lorega do, who we are, because a lot of people are on this webinar who may not have heard of us before today. Angus is going to take you through immediate triage advice, what to do when you have those winter weather or storm claims coming in, and also some fascinating case studies. He'll then flip over to me near the end, and I'll just talk briefly about loss recovery insurance, what we do, how we can help you, and the Lorega expert, what to do if the client hasn't got a policy in place, and the learning objectives. We're going to talk about why Lorega is the right choice. A lot of people have used other, sorry, someone's just moved the slide a little bit fast there, but we'll talk about why Lorega is the right choice. Obviously, the actual can you just stop, Jessica, a minute?
No, I'm sorry, I took it back. I'm sorry.
Sorry, right, we can go on. We're obviously going to have a conclusion in the question and answer session. So basically, for the next slide, we will be talking about the triage advice that you can advise to clients that you hopefully that's a learning objective that you should find helpful by the end of this webinar. The key features of our products, how it can help and benefit the clients, but also yourselves, how you transact it if you're not aware how to transact with Lorega. And we'll talk about the after the event service and how you can continue through our online learning platform. So let's see, without further ado, next slide. Working with Lorega.
You can click your buttons, Anne, instead of doing this.
I'm trying to, but it's okay. That's fine. So Lorega introduction. We've been around for a lot of years. Past the 35 years mark, actually, and we're very proud of the fact that we have earned a 5-star ranking for the last 5 years in the Insurance Times Broker Service Survey for service quality. And that's not just for the sales and the underwriting, but obviously, and most importantly, for the claims service that we provide. And 95% of clients are happy, following a claim that they've had to make using our service. 95% is a very high satisfaction rate for any company, and we're very proud of that as well for anybody who's had to make a claim in the last 5 years. So Lorega brand and values. Just to talk about Lorega itself, we always believe that whether you're a household owner or a business owner, you should have access to expert help exactly when they need it. And really, it's all about the claims time when you as a broker are being tested, that is the moment that you should excel in the service, delivering peace of mind to policyholders following a disaster or a loss. And that's what our products and our service is all about. We provide an outstanding service from our team of experts, and as I say, we have one of them on this call today who will give practical help and advice just to get the businesses back up and running as quickly as possible following a major loss. So you've got to think that why do clients and customers need help? Well, you never know until you've got a claim in front of you just how complex it can and time-consuming claims can be, and not everyone's an expert on policy wordings or have even the time to deal with their claims. And a lot of customers, they may be experts in their business, but when it comes down to looking at policy wordings, that can be something that they just don't have the experience and can rely heavily on their broker to be those experts. Account executives are your own people and handlers. Quite often you're focused on new business and renewal retention, and claims never happen at a convenient time. You're probably about to go on your, let's say, whether it's a holiday or whether it's, you're about to go out on a major renewal. Not everyone's a claims expert, and when someone needs help on a complex or difficult BI loss, this is something that's really going to help and support your clients. And without that help and assistance on the policy, your customers might just not get the full entitlement under the policy that you've organised and arranged for them. So as I say, the subject of the claim the webinar today is all about winter weather claims and triage service. So I'm now going to pass over to Angus, who is going to talk you through how he can help and how his team helps when claims happen. So over to you, Angus.
Thank you, Anne. Well, good afternoon. About to say good morning. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the webinar. As Anne said, we set this up and planned it a little while ago, but the timing is nothing if not perfect with regards to being topical. So what I'm looking to do is just to cover sort of an area. What I'm looking to do is your clients, you'll have clients who suffer this sort of damage during in the winter in floods, windstorms, that type of thing, and probably be contacting you to say, look, what do we do? How should we approach it? I'm just sort of trying to give some tips, the sort of things that you should be looking for, the advice you should be giving them in telling them what to do to sort of minimize the impact on the business, to mitigate the loss. And that in itself will, that benefits the policyholders. It also benefits the insurers because it's minimizing their exposure as well.
Apologies to interrupt. There's a lady called Emma has been trying to raise her hand a few times. Angus has my laptop, so Anne, can you chat to Emma and find out if she has an issue at all? Maybe she can hear us or something. I don't know.
I haven't. Emma, can you put a message on the chat? Because we've only got a message from Alison so far on the chat.
Apologies. Sorry.
Great on winter claims advice, struggling on IT advice. Yeah, so severe weather claims, and as I said, the sort of the general ones that you will see over the winter are for winter specific will be windstorms like we've just seen, flooding, although you get flooding during the summer as well, burst pipes, cold weather, snow loading, that type of thing. So just going down what we should be looking at. First of all, following the event and insured in their premises, are the services still operating? I mean, that in itself, you can have fairly minimal damage, but if all your services are out, you've got no power, you've got no water, your phone systems are out, then your business just grinds to a halt. So that can be quite important. Equally, whilst yes, we need the power back on, we need the power running, it is running, that's great, it means we can carry on working. It sometimes can't be that great, may not be that great. Does it present a potential problem? For example, if the power is on and you've got low-level wiring, socket points, plug points down the skirting boards, lower part of the building on the ground floor, and you've got floodwater coming in that's going to go above these, you could have a potential problem with the water getting into the wiring, and if there's any live points, that doesn't go well. You're probably aware that electricity and water are not very good bedfellows. Equally, if you've got windstorm with damage to the roofs that we've seen a lot of over the weekend, and then it pours with rain and rainwater's coming in and it's saturating the inside of the property, it's pouring down walls. If you've got the power on and you've got the junction box, the main incoming box is on the wall, and rainwater starts pouring all over that, again, you could have a potential problem. You need to get that power turned off very quickly, otherwise you could have a short, and your storm damage claim for part of the property could turn into a total loss for a fire damage claim. One of the questions that I get asked, typically, those of you who know Lorega, you'll be aware that one of the offerings we have for our policyholders is a 24/7 telephone loss advice line, giving advice over the phone as to what people should be doing, that type of thing. Which, funnily enough, all our senior adjusters take turns in manning that from the adjusting point of view. We have a call centre, then they put it through to the adjusters for the technical advice. By total coincidence, my turn happened to be this weekend, so I had a fairly busy weekend. But one of the questions I often get asked of a policyholder when they're ringing up, they're saying, look, I don't want to prejudice my position with the insurer. What would the insurer want me to do? What should I be doing to keep the insurer happy? The advice always is, forget about the insurance, just pretend you're not insured, act as if you're uninsured, never mind what the insurer thinks. What's business critical? What's best for your business? Because I can pretty much guarantee that if you're taking action, or your clients are taking action to mitigate the loss on the business, what's business critical? How do I keep it going? Insurers are going to love you for that, because that in itself will be minimizing their loss. So don't worry about the insurance, just take all decisions are business-based decisions. And one of the first things on that is taking photographs of the damage, because whilst a week or so after the event, people can remember fairly well what happened, what it looked like. 6 months down the line, the claim's ongoing, memories fade. And these days, it's so easy to do. I mean, when I first started in this business doing it, which was pre-smartphones, pre-mobile phones, just as we used to go out and we'd have a camera with us, and we'd have a roll of 12 or 20 film in it, so we could take 12 or 20 pictures, and then that was it. These days, you can literally take thousands of pictures on your smartphone and videos. So the policyholder photographing everything, photographing the damage, that is invaluable as we go down the line with the claim. If you've got stock and contents at ground level, when you've got flooding, then if possible, try and move that above the water level. Undamaged stock, if that's stored on the ground and you've got flooded water coming in, and again, if you know a river's about to flood or burst its banks, I know this has been happening in the last couple of days in Yorkshire, in Manchester, around there. If you know that's about to happen, if it's possible, move goods up a level. If you can move goods up to a story above the ground floor so that the flooding doesn't damage, that's fine. Actually, also on that point as well, for policyholders, make sure that they're aware if they've got any stillage warranties on their policy, i.e. if stock has to be stored above a minimum level, 6 inches or 12 inches off the ground, and then make sure that's being complied with before the flood water hits, because otherwise they'll have a policy breach. Undamaged goods, if you've got partial damage, you've got saturation to some stock, some goods, but other goods nearby, because there's a slope on the floor or whatever, is undamaged, then the undamaged goods, as soon as possible, should be moved well away from saturated damaged goods, because if you've got damp saturated goods, depending upon what the type of things they are, the dampness can spread and cause damage to other stock, that type of thing. So that needs to be moved away. And again, if you've got perishable stock, foodstuffs, that type of thing, move that before it becomes a health hazard. Even if it's saturated and damaged, move it and take it, isolate it from everything else. It could be a health hazard. If it's foodstuffs, if you've got a restaurant or your retail outlet that's, you know, a food shop, a grocer's, that sort of thing, if there's water, if you have water damage either from above with the rain or below with the flooding coming up, if that is saturated, you're not quite sure what to do on that, take advice from the environmental health officer of a local authority. They're very, very hot on this sort of thing, very keen. They will come and look at things. And also with foodstuffs in restaurants, places like that, it's a good idea to get them in very quickly to inspect the damaged goods, because if they've got any slight concern about whether this should be used for human consumption, that type of thing, they will write it off and get them to give the policyholder, your client, get them to give them a certificate writing it off, because that's invaluable down the line when we're in discussion with insurers and they were saying, well, why did you throw all that away? Couldn't it be salvaged? What about this or that? We've got a certificate from the environmental health officer writing it off. That's non-disputable. Insurance can't argue with that. So that's always invaluable. Yeah, take immediate necessary measures. Again, some of this may seem like common sense, but that's not always the case when people are in panic mode. Mopping up, that type of thing, cleaning up, get onto that as soon as you can. I mean, if the business has got quite a lot of flooding and you can't trade, you can't carry on, you've got staff hanging around not doing anything, literally give them mops, buckets, get them cleaning up, that type of thing. Ensure the premises are well ventilated while you're doing this to get an airflow through, to sort of minimize the effect. And especially if people are operating, whether it's offices, whether it's shops, that type of thing, if you're in older premises like, you know, old Edwardian buildings in town centres, that type of thing, often they'll have floorboards rather than a concrete floor. If you've got floorboards and timber floors and there's been flooding, once the flooding goes down, take up floorboards in every so often in the corners, opposite corners of the premises, and get a flow of air underneath the floor, because otherwise you're going to have mold happening very quickly. Anything that's salvageable, insurers, there's an onus under the policy not to abandon anything to insurers, and if it's salvageable, insurers will expect you to make sure that they are kept and the salvage realised. So anything salvageable, identify it, isolate it, and do not dispose of it. If you've got uninhabitable premises, if because of the extent of the damage, roofs off, that sort of thing, premises that will be left unattended, secure those, make sure they're fully secured, get people in to do boarding up, contractors, that sort of thing, and make sure that if there's undamaged stock there and nobody's going to be there because you're going to have to leave it because of the fact that the water damage or the storm damage, make sure that it's fully secured. And if necessary, if you've got expensive stock that's still left there, if necessary, organise for some sort of security overnight, that type of thing, till you can get permanent repairs done. If you're a tenant, if your client's a tenant, they should be contacting their landlord or managing agents as soon as possible and requesting the necessary urgent action to the building. It's no good you taking all measures to protect your stock, thinking, how can I dry it out, if the building's saturated and the managing agent's doing nothing, and sort of wet plasters getting wetter, and after a week or so dropping out of the ceiling and onto things. Make sure that the landlord is doing all necessary to rectify the damage to the building. If there is no power, if the power's completely out and it's going to be a while before it comes back, I mean, we've seen in the papers the news with the power cuts, large areas of the country without power, sometimes for weeks on end. This has happened in Scotland. This happened in Scotland a month or so ago. If necessary in the building, get hold of and use temporary generators to power heaters and dehumidifiers to dry out the premises. Talking about drying out the premises, now depending upon what you're using to dry them out, that dictates how you should approach the drying out. Dehumidifiers are normally the best thing because they suck the water out of the air. If you've got dehumidifiers that you put in the building to dry it out, what you need to do is make sure all the windows are closed. Don't leave windows open while you've got dehumidifiers on. Otherwise, as you dry the air out, the air that's drying out will suck in moist air from outside, and you're trying to drying out the whole street, or you're drying out 5 acres around the place. Make sure it's all sealed up and you're just drying out the air inside the property. Conversely, if you're using heaters, you don't have dehumidifiers, but you want to use heaters to try and get some hot air and some airflow moving to dry it out, that needs airflow moving, and do open the windows, because the warm, moist air will leave out of one window, and you'll be drying out as it goes through. So it's the opposite for heating as it is for dehumidifying. If the premises are uninhabitable, well, as with this just isn't winter claims, but as with any claim, fire damage is uninhabitable. Try and locate suitable alternative premises for temporary trading to minimise the impact on the business and that type of thing, so that you're up and running and doing trade as much as you can. Yeah, relocate internal sources from unaffected areas. If the business has got 3 or 4 locations, or it's a sort of on an industrial estate, but you've got 3 or 4 buildings in there, if some of them are affected by storm damage, other ones aren't, then the internal resources from the damaged, from the unaffected buildings, use those to assist the rectification in the damaged areas. It may be the damaged areas are business critical and the unaffected areas aren't so important, and you need to make sure that again, you're making sure that the business has the minimum impact on its trade. Contact customers fairly early on. Again, that this is a general claims thing, but contact customers as soon as you can to advise and reassure them. If your client is someone who's a supplier to quite a lot of people, they're going to have customers around who are going to be worried to see, well, we saw that there was bad flooding over in the area where our supplier is based, and does that mean that they've flooded out and we're not going to be able to get anything from them? Or should we look elsewhere, take our customer elsewhere? Reassure them, keep them on board, that type of thing there. And talking to customers equally, it may be that we've in our premises, we've got minimal impact on the business and a small amount of damage, but we could have customers who are very badly affected and with storm damage, and their buildings are damaged and they can't buy our goods. So it affects our business, even if we're unaffected. That's when it becomes very important on the policy that you've arranged for your clients, that they've got suitable customers and suppliers extensions. So even if they've got no water damage or flood damage, but there is severe flood damage to the supplier or the customer and it's affecting their business, they will have cover for it under those extensions. And again, as the business starts to recover, you should be prioritizing the key customers. Sometimes it's literally the people who shout loudest you get looked at first of all, because you think, oh yeah, I better sort them out and do it. But for the sake of the business, you should be identifying who are your key customers and making sure they have priority, so they stay with you long after the damage has been rectified. Also, any customers that you supply under contract, they should be prioritized, because it may well be that if you can't supply them, then there may be penalties under that contract that you're going to suffer from. So again, even if someone under contract isn't necessarily one of your real key customers, you need to give them priority as well. As you start sort of sorting out what the problem is, identifying the damage, valuing it, getting repairs done to the building, that sort of thing, it's important in the business to create a separate cost code right from the outset in your accounts specific to that flood or storm, so that you can identify all the damage. And that's right from the beginning. I mentioned earlier about getting staff into, to mop up, clean up, that sort of thing. I mean, literally within the first few hours or the first day or so after major flooding or some storms, you could be doing rectification work with all your staff, literally using chunks of petty cash, going down to home care or B&Q, buying loads of mops, getting tarpaulins for temporary roof covering, that sort of thing. That can soon add up. And down the line, you can lose track of, if that's cash out of petty, if that's cash from the petty cash account, you lose track of what you spent on it, and somebody loses the receipt from B&Q or forgets to get it. If you've got a cost code at the beginning and you log everything on there, and it does add up very quickly, then you make sure you're getting everything in the claim. You can track the costs, which is important. Again, one thing I'm sure you will be stressing this to your clients, but one of the important things for insureds is to make sure that they make very immediate contact with their insurance broker to get advice and guidance. So, that's something. When we get people contacting us on out of hours lines, we're telling them, make sure you get in contact with your broker straight away. In fact, if we contacted on out of hours one by the policyholder from the number on their loss recovery policy, the first thing we do next working day, i.e. on a Monday after the weekend, would be to contact you and advise you your client has had a problem, and so that you can get in contact with them too. Pre-loss, before things happen, it's sensible to add non-damage denial of access extension to business interruption cover. This is especially important in areas that are subject to flooding. I mean, thinking of places like the Lake District, places like that, and Shrewsbury at the moment, reading on the, seeing on the news this morning, that's quite badly flooded yet again. If bridges are taken down, access is blocked. Well, not so much bridges taken down because that's damage, but if access is blocked, but there's no actual damage, a normal denial of access extension, if that's causing you a loss to your business, even if you haven't had any damage, you've got no cover. But a non-damage denial of access extension will mean you've got cover for your business interruption loss. Now, looking at a couple of quick case studies, just to sort of illustrate a couple of weather claims that we've dealt with, to issue some of the problems that we get. These are sort of to show you the general problems that can be faced and the issues, and also in indicating the type of service that we do provide in dealing with the claims. The first one, it's it's a domestic one. It's not commercial. It's a high net worth property, but the principles in this was a fairly unique one. The principles in this apply across the board to all types of water damage claims in bad weather, that type of thing. This was a high net property down on the south coast. For reasons that I cannot honestly remember, they had completely separate buildings and contents cover rather than a single combined policy. And so there were two different insurers involved. They had a holiday home. The guy and his wife were both South African. He was a very senior global account manager for fund management, and they happened to be based in the UK, but they were South African. They had a lovely holiday home in South Africa and went back there every Christmas with the family. So on this year, 16th of December, they vacated and disappeared off to South Africa over the Christmas holiday. Now, a day or so later, it just so happened there was an incredible cold snap. It's quite localized in this area, but very cold. When they went away, I'd stress that they did all the right things. They left all the services on, the heating on, everything. But the cold weather, what happened was it caused a burst pipe. Now, one of their neighbours was a key holder and had access to the premises and was also looking after it. And he discovered it. He was literally putting some posts through the door for them one day, a couple of days after they left, and he heard an odd sound and he looked through the letterbox. And it's one of these houses where they had, from the first floor, they had staircases coming down each side on the first floor landing that went all the way round, and then halfway down, and then went into a single lower staircase that came down. And he could see the lower staircase, and it was like Niagara Falls. There was loads of water pouring down there. As I said, he was abroad they were abroad at the time. Both insurers, he had all his details with him for the cover. Both insurers were notified and indicated that it was quite extensive damage from what the neighbour said. Both of the insurers immediately said, look, don't worry, we've got, we can get the damage reclamation experts in, we have our own experts on a panel, and contractors, we can get contractors on our panel in to undertake the repairs, drying out, repair it. We can do that. We can work with your neighbour who's the key holder. We can sort it all out for you. So when you come back, it's all done, which he thought, that sounds brilliant. Yeah, okay, so off you go. I said it's about the 18th, 19th of December. Anyway, by mid-January, nobody had turned up, nobody had appeared, despite ongoing, increasingly frustrated phone calls to them and emails from the owner. Nobody turned up, despite lots of promises from the insurers, and it was just getting a disaster, ongoing deterioration. Somebody recommended to him, I think through his business, his broker, who was aware of Lorega, one of the Lorega brokers, he recommended that he contact us because we may be able to help him sort the claim out and get something happening. He happened to he rang me on this was a claim I dealt with. He rang me on a Thursday afternoon, and we had quite a chat and explained what it was, and he gave me the neighbour's details. So on the Friday, I went down to look at it and inspect it, go around, and it was an absolute disaster. It really was inside, totally saturated. So Friday afternoon, I spoke to him again in South Africa, gave him an indication of what it was like, indicated what we do, what, our claim services, and this was on the after the event basis, and how we could help. And I sent him a proposal and an engagement letter if he wished to use our services on the Saturday, on the basis that I thought he probably would want to go ahead. I also started lining up people who we work with and we know, specialist damage reclamation people, the DR companies. There was a company that we work with at sometimes, and I knew they had a really good team and manager in this particular area, so I put him on standby. Basically, on the Sunday, he rang me and he emailed me back Sunday afternoon. He instructed us. So very first thing Monday morning, I literally pulled the trigger. I got the DR people in. The other thing was that the policy holder gave me sort of full carte blanche to look after it and project manage it for him. This was a project managed claim job. We got the senior guy at the DR company became the official project manager. He sorted out immediate measures, making sure the electrics were turned off properly and isolated, security for the premises, water supply, removing things, removing contents. I mean, they had very heavy carpets in the place. They all had to be rolled up and taken out. And they had to unexpectedly get additional teams in for that because they were so heavy. The people that came in initially, they couldn't lift them up. But it's high net worth. They had artwork there. We got conservators down to remove those to their premises. Furniture off to furniture restorers for drying out. All that type of thing undertaken. I also, because there was a lot of buildings damaged by then, I got a surveyor involved, instructed a surveyor to come in very quickly to start identifying what the damage was, and so that we could get tenders in for work. And we started this on Monday morning. By the Wednesday, the house was more or less clear. We had dehumidifiers in, it was drying, everything else. It was still a week or so before the first of the two insurers adjusters turned up, and then the other ones were a week later as well. By then, we got huge amounts done and underway. We had to chase them to get them down as well. So that was a bit of a disaster. Luckily, they were totally on board with what we were doing. They really couldn't say much against it, and they were rather embarrassed about the fact what had happened up until now. So the extent of damage was all identified. Everything went really swimmingly after that, and it was all repaired well and sorted. The cost of that claim, as paid for the restoration and the repairs, was about £145,000. Point here is that if what I did when we got instructed had been done on the 18th of December when it first happened, that claim would have been no more than £30,000 to £40,000 maximum, if that. So it shows, it's so important getting things done very quickly. The next case study, it's Hailstorm. Again, quite topical. Certainly where I live down in Kent, it was either Friday or Saturday, I can't remember which, but following all the wind damage, and then it got cold, and in the evening when the rain came, we had a massive hailstorm. So luckily that didn't do a lot of damage, but this particular hailstorm on this was a very large car dealership with huge amount of vehicle stock. Now, just to clarify here, for people who haven't been involved with any clients with the Lorega policy, one of the exclusions is motor, but that's motor road risks. In this case, all the vehicles at the premises, both commercial vans and private cars, that was stock. So that's stock under the property policy, and so it doesn't matter whether it's cars or not. That's covered, and that's covered under the Lorega one. They had a huge amount of stock. It was a large franchise dealership. These very large hailstones were quite severe. They literally damaged across the 2 or 3 outlets for this franchise dealership, literally over 1,000 vehicles. Windscreens were completely smashed, body panels badly dented, that type of thing. There was also damage to the buildings and the workshops as well, but that wasn't too bad in the scheme of things. The problem we got was that virtually all the vehicles had been affected in some way or other. So suddenly this thriving dealership had no sales stock at all. So we had a potential for a very large business interruption loss. Right at the beginning, we sort of sat down and discussed it with them, and we quickly realized that we needed to take a very proactive approach. We formed an action plan on this with a focus specifically to repairing and returning vehicles for sale of stock. We also organised people coming in for repairing the workshop and the workshops and the showrooms and that, but they weren't that badly damaged, to be honest. And what we did, and we sorted this out, and then when the insurer's adjuster was appointed, we set it out to them and they bought into it. We focused on, as I said, it was the repairing the vehicles. We arranged for a specialist dent repair team to be permanently brought in and located in the premises. Normally, the vehicles would be taken away piecemeal to the premises of these specialist dent repair people, and they do them there. We got an agreement to get a team come in and base themselves and bring their kit in to the workshops on site, and we basically set up a repair production line for it going through returning vehicles. It was production line, so that they were doing the repairs on site, and the team specializing in different areas, windscreens one bit, body panels. The cars were going through on a production line basis. High value vehicles were prioritized to get those done. It was working very well. In addition, the commercial van stock, a lot of the damage wasn't that bad, couldn't be seen. It was to the roof and that. So we had a discussion with the insurers to work out the best way to mitigate the loss overall for everyone concerned, and got insurers to sit down, and we had discussions with the policyholder and the insurers, and damage allowances were agreed on this stock. And that gave the policyholder total flexibility to actually sell this stock with discounted price to reflect the minor damage to their customers. And that worked very well for them. In particular, as a result of that, they were able to very quickly agree a very good deal for a fleet sale of quite a large number of vans to one guy who wasn't too worried about the condition on the roof. He just needed the vehicles, and he got a really good price for them because they were, in all intents and purposes, otherwise brand new vehicles. So that worked well. As a result of this, the majority of the stock had been repaired and returned to stock for sale within a month, and sales were met from then on. Sales that were due imminently when the damage hit, they were met fairly quickly once the repairs were done. So after 1 month, and with the forward orders as well, the BI loss really didn't go much beyond that. So there was a huge saving on what the potential BI loss would have been if we'd have done the normal way by just taking them piecemeal remotely to be done, and it would have taken months and months. So again, a proactive project management approach to reduce the impact on the business. And if I can hand back to you now.
You can indeed, and I thought they were great case studies, Angus. I actually remember being in the vicinity when those golf ball hailstones came down. I was sitting in a nice hotel though, so.
Oh yeah, it was the Midlands loss. I forgot that.
It was. Yeah, a few years ago. But yeah, so what I'm going to do just now is it's kind of a wrap-up session, but basically just talking about loss recovery insurance, the actual insurance policy that pays the fees of a chartered loss adjuster, basically dealing with claims from £5,000, but the actual amount of claim is uncapped. This is something that's been around for a long time now. I know a lot of you will already deal with this, but for those people who haven't dealt with this is something that gives your client an enhanced claims offering. It's unlimited experience and help and assistance exactly when they need it, when there's a crisis, if there's a storm or a flood or a fire happening. And as Angus mentioned, there is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week helpline there answered by human beings, and obviously the rota of the adjusters are there. So it kicks in at 5,000 on commercial property MDBI losses, and there's no upper limit on the actual amount of claim. So the benefits for your policyholders, it's getting that fast response at a time of crisis when they need it, and giving them peace of mind, knowing that someone is there standing side by side with them, managing that claim and assisting and helping and guiding them through what can be a very complex process. If they've never had a claim before, where do you start? But if you think about it, if Angus and his team have been adjusters for many, many years and have dealt on the side of the insurer side, they know exactly how a claim should be presented and making sure that things aren't missed out. So it's getting that professional formulation of claim so that it actually speeds up the claim rather than slow it down. And obviously they're there to get the best possible settlement on the policy that you've arranged for your customer. And as I say, it just reduces so much time and cost in the client having to deal with the claim. And obviously a lot of clients get taken in by after the event, I was going to say by loss assessors, I should say, where they have to pay an after the event or a fee for the service. In fact, yesterday I had a customer, a broker ring me to say that a client had a big fire and someone was sitting outside the premises saying, oh, our insurance brokers have sent us, so we'll deal with the claim. But that was actually the loss assessor who'd rocked up on that claim. And, you know, that's a very expensive way for a client actually to deal with a claim. And it doesn't win you any loyalty, because quite often an assessor will, the client will defer to the assessor for advice rather than yourselves during the claims time. But we'll talk about after the event in a moment. But really, loss recovery insurance is all about business survival, getting the client in, getting professional help and assistance on those difficult claims exactly when they need it, and minimizing disruption to their lifestyle. Because if they haven't had a claim, I always say, until you've had a horrible claim, you really don't know how much it involved, how much your life is involved in that loss. And from the broker side of things, lots of account executives give me feedback and tell me how much time and effort it saves from their point of view, knowing that they have that professional loss adjuster working with the client and the broker. And it's a team approach, and it's getting that exceptional claims service for all your clients, whether they're a small client or a large client. We would expect the same first-class service on all clients right across the whole board. And the product should protect your client relationship. If you've had a client who's had to use this service through the year, then I would hope that your renewal discussion would go a lot easier, because at the end of the day, you're only tested on your service when a client needs to make a claim, and it's at that point they know how good or how problematic a claim can be, and how good the service can be during the claims time. And it should, once you've had the confidence of using the service of the loss recovery insurance product, it should help you win and retain new clients, because you'll have your own story to tell. And we are always looking for new stories. If one of our guys has been out on a claim and you've had an outstanding service, then tell the team about it, tell Jess about it, because we love getting those case studies up and running on the website, or providing them to you for you to help your team sell more policies. And the additional revenue opportunity, yes, you get your commission on every policy you sell, but the reality is it's the time, your time, that it saves on handling difficult and complex losses. So let's just go through exclusions. It's really important you understand it's not a liability or injury product. This is a property product. I always say if it floats, flies, or got wheels, we don't deal with it. However, if you've got a marine policy where you've got UK goods in transit, or a UK stock throughput element of the policy, then yes, we would cover that, but you must take the marine risks out when you're at the quote stage. Aviation, absolutely no cover. And as Angus has just pointed out, yes, we do motor in respect of stock, or a motor trade where the vehicle's actually on the premises but not road risks. So again, you would take the road risks element out of any quotes that you put forward. The personal property, that relates to obviously commercial claims other than employees' effects. But of course, if it's a high net worth household policy, then yes, of course, we would include personal property in those losses. And the one important thing under the Lorega policy, we do not include subsidence, landslip, or heave claims under the policy. And the reason for that is they are long tail claims. They are not something that is dealt with in a quick way. Quite often, subsidence or landslip or heave claims can become liability claims if it's an argument with a neighbouring property, and therefore they are not covered under the policy, and it's explicitly excluded under the policy. You'll find that in the key facts document and the policy wording. Now, if there's an uninsured loss to pursue on a claim, then quite often the insurers will appoint solicitors, and you have one person pursuing the third party, so they normally include the uninsured losses in pursuing claims. And of course, when a claim turns legal, our adjusters would be there as a witness if called upon, but we would be, if necessary, pass our file of papers over to the solicitors for them to do whatever they need to do. And of course, we don't cover, actually it's not mentioned on this one, but we don't cover terrorism under the commercial, under the policy. Again, just in case you would include that, that's been excluded for about 12 months now. And communicable diseases, that has been excluded since the 1st of November 2020, but ultimately we're just following the exclusions under the underlying policies who no longer cover communicable diseases anyway. And claims outside the United Kingdom, so the mainland UK is covered, Northern Ireland, Isle of Man, and the Channel Islands, yes, you can sell Lorega policies on those. This is just a little bit of feedback for some nice, we always send a survey after a claim. Our claims manager sends those out. And these are just some comments. We love the fact that one client said that it's the best insurance experience I've ever had. So that's some certainly nice feedback. And if we get that feedback, we'll forward it on to you so you can put that on your website or use it as you wish to market to other clients. So tools for yourselves after today. If you want to sign up an agency, then just get in touch with myself or Jessica. And all products we have available on Actress, that just needs to be switched on. But if you don't use Actress, we have our own online portal, a quote and bind system called Lorega Online, and that can be set up pretty much straight away. All documentation is created by the system, so your policy certificates, your key facts documents are all there. But otherwise, you can go onto the Lorega website, where all customer leaflets and other resources are available under the broker section, and you can download the PDFs of those, absolutely no problem. Or you just can have a chat with me again. There's anything that you need, you can come to myself. We're great at acronyms. FNOL, the first notification of loss. If a claim needs to be reported, you would do this by our Lorega online FNOL service. It's the most efficient and quickest and slickest way of telling us about a claim. The reason being, if you do a claim notification by FNOL, then our claims manager and claims team can tell the adjuster who's going to be appointed on this one at Lorega and the insurer straight away that they're on for a claim. That is the best way, but you will get a telephone call very quickly after notifying that loss to Lorega. So let's just touch on the after, Lorega expert. It is Lorega after the expert. I think there's a T being put in there by mistake. We'll just get rid of that one for the next presentation. But just to say, this is exactly the same service as loss recovery insurance. It's no different. However, you would have to pay for that service. The client, if they don't have a loss recovery insurance in place, but they call it and say, look, I've got a burning building, I've got a flood or a fire, what do I do? And you need to recommend what they do, then please refer them to ourselves. You just need to let us know. And Angus and the team will talk to yourselves and your client about a fee-based service, whether it's an hourly rate or a percentage of the agreed claim. That would be decided upon as and when the claim happens, because everything's different. But that's not the loss recovery insurance policy. Anything to do with the policy, you can talk to me. Angus and his team are all about the after the event service. But there's also file auditing services for any claims that occasionally can get contentious or difficult and you need that extra help, then just let us know and we'll see if we can do an after the event quotation for you. And this product really gives peace of mind to the home and business owners who haven't got the actual service in place. So after today, if you think, right, I definitely want to learn a little bit more about Lorega, then we can register you for the online learning platform. This provides you with a loss recovery insurance or after the event product lesson. We have case studies on there and also the helpful content. And it also gives you a little bit more CPD time, which people always are looking for. So, but it just helps you understand more about the features and benefits of the products. So if you're an existing agency and you would like to sign up for that, just get in touch with Jess or myself and we'll get you signed up. That's absolutely no problem at all. And let's just recap ourselves why Lorega is the right choice. Hopefully you can see by having one of the experts this morning talking about all the difficult winter weather claims that we've been experiencing and how the triage advice can hopefully give you some great tips on how to deal with a severe weather loss, because let's face it, we are seeing more and more of these claims and storms happening. So you know, if anything you can take some golden nuggets away to help you today, then that would be brilliant. And now of course you will understand the key features of loss recovery insurance and the benefits to you and your customers, how you transact the product if you want to, and the after the event service, because as I say, that's all there for you. If you've got an agency with us, then obviously, hopefully you will understand how to sell loss recovery insurance. But if you think you need more product training, then please get in touch and, you know, obviously continue if you wish to register through the online lessons. Now, after the session today, I would absolutely love it if you would all go on to LinkedIn maybe and have a look at the Lorega LinkedIn site, which is something that this is where we post a lot of information. And you know, we've recently done a LinkedIn campaign on the top 20 tips for winter weather, you know, tips before a claim happens. That's the kind of thing that a lot of people have found useful and downloaded in the last week or so that we've seen. So If there's any changes or anything new happening, or people are joining us or leaving us or whatever, we will post that on the LinkedIn. So if you want to follow Lorega, press that button. And as I say, we're on LinkedIn as well, but that can be a very helpful site. And of course, the website, we have our newsletter, if you want to subscribe to the newsletter, the www.lorega.com website. And as I said, that again keeps you up to date with any changes or any helpful tips as and when things happen on claims. And Angus occasionally posts some articles on there. So I think that's, as I say, there is Twitter too, but Jess knows more about Twitter than I do. I'm afraid I don't use Twitter, but as I say, and blogs are quite often provided. So I see there's some question answers in the chat. Jess, are you going to have a look at those?
Pretty short on time, so I'll take
them quickly.
Have a look at the questions. Put them in the Q&A. We'll get through them. Otherwise, just email us afterwards.
Right.
Can claims be reported 24/7 by phone? If a client turns up at his burning, flooded building, they are likely to want to be able to call someone rather than find the Wi-Fi password.
Right, I was going to say, shall I answer that, Angus?
Yep.
Yeah, basically, for a client, if when a claim happens at the minute, if you are actually an insurance broker, 9 times out of 10, the client is always going to call you as the broker. What I suggest you do is put our London number in case of emergency into your telephone and make sure that you call us. And as I say, it will be, they will get through to someone. But quite often, I was going to say, we also have the FNOL facility where the broker can, contact us 24 hours, 7 days a week, and notify through that facility. So I don't think you need to worry about the Wi-Fi password. But as I say, if in an emergency, of course, the London number is 24 hours, 7 days a week. Someone said, apologies if I missed it. Is there a guide or indication of the cost after the event cover? Yeah, it's a fee-based cover or an hourly rate to be agreed as and when we discuss this. Angus will discuss that at the point of the discussion. If you need to know more about it, if you want to email us, and we'll tell you more information on that. And Alison, the copy of this presentation, I believe it's been recorded, Jessica, so that can
Yes, you'll all get the recording and the slides afterwards.
So you'll get a copy of this, Alison, afterwards.
Is it worth mentioning that about the 24-hour reporting a claim by phone thing? Is it worth mentioning that we can't take any instructions from your clients? The broker has to notify.
That's right.
To us?
Well, it is the broker. That's what I was saying about the broker. Generally, you are the broker and will contact us straight away. The client is so panic-stricken about the claim itself. And in the first instance, as a broker, you'd need to notify the underlying insurer as well. So, it's best that the broker contacts us in the first instance, and that's why you should have that London number in your phone in case of emergency for whenever you need to contact us.
Cool, that's all for questions for now.
I think we've got everything answered. So I hope everybody enjoyed that session and found it informative, and it just leaves me to thank Angus and Jess for attending the session.